And Leslie.
Okay, we are live.
Background.
All right, I'd like to call to order, it is 7 o'clock. I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the Lyon Township Downtown Development Authority. And if we could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
These are probably buttons.
I pledge allegiance
Allegiance
to
To the flag
of
of the United States of America,
and to the republic
Republic for which
for which
which
it stands,
stands
one
one
nation,
nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with
with
liberty.
liberty and justice for
for
all. Okay, thank you very much. As everyone knows, unfortunately, you're stuck with me chairing the meeting tonight because we have a couple that are out. I would like to move on to have Troy please recite the mission statement.
The mission of the Lyon Township DDA is to assist public and private development efforts to stimulate residential, commercial, and industrial growth and create a vibrant community where people live, work, and play.
Thank you, Troy. We're going to move on to the roll call. Rose, could you please call roll?
John Dolan,
Here.
Jason,
Present.
Adorno,
Development efforts.
Troy,
Present.
Mark.
maybe he's trying.
Okay, but he's here, but. Okay, so John Bell, Robert, Tim are absent.
Correct.
Got it.
Okay, great. We're going to move on to item 5, approval of the consent agenda. Has anyone had a chance to look that over and want to make a motion to approve it?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, please call this by roll, Rose.
Jason,
Yes.
Adorno.
Yeah.
Troy,
Yes.
Mark. John.
Yes. Do we have Mark on? Is he?
He
No,
said
I don't think he's still not on.
Yeah,
maybe
he,
should-
technical
not on.
difficulties, but
Can
he'll
he
be back
dial
in a
in
minute.
or can he dial in with a number or anything?
yes, he can dial in. If he does, Tina, if you can just tell me the last 4 digits of his phone number so that I can let him in right away if he dials in.
Okay.
Excuse me. Yeah, because
Uh,
our 5th, in order for us to approve the consent agenda, we will need his vote
Needs to,
because he makes our quorum, so.
yeah, that's why I was asking.
We could come back to the consent agenda.
Well, we can move on to announcements and communications. Does anyone have any announcements or communications they'd like to share? Okay, because we also have to approve the agenda, so.
I'm trying to see if I can get him to dial in.
Tina, I have someone trying to dial in. Is his phone number end with 3355?
Oops, wrong person. There. Yes.
Okay. Hello, Mark. You're unmuted now. Are you there?
Can you hear us, Mark?
Can you hear?
I think we can hear you now.
Okay, great. And I'll be joining here in a minute. I got technical thing I'm working through.
Okay, can you hear us to go ahead and get some motions passed here, Mark?
Yes, sir.
All right, well then let's go back to the approval of the consent agenda. We had a motion by Troy, and who seconded that?
Jason.
Aye.
And Jason seconded that, and I'd like to call that by roll again, please. This was to approve, Mark.
Oh, Rose is on mute.
Yeah, this is for the 3894.75.
Yes.
Correct.
Yep. Okay.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
John Dolan,
Yes.
Jason,
Yes.
Adorno,
Yes.
Troy,
Yes.
Mark.
Yes.
Okay. Been approved. Let's move on to the approval of the agenda. We don't have any additions or deletions, I do believe. So a motion would be in order to approve the agenda as stated. You would like to make that motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda for July 14th, 2020.
So moved. Second.
Okay, we get who seconded that?
No, I
Adorno.
didn't.
Adorno.
Or no?
All right, please call this by roll.
Mark,
Yes.
Troy,
Yes.
Adorno,
Yes.
Jason,
Yes.
John.
Yes.
Got
All
it.
right. Announcements and communications. I don't know if anyone had any announcements or not. Communications. All right, seeing none, we're going to move to call to the public. Rob, is anybody out there? Talk about
No callers,
Okay,
no members of the public.
okay, we're going to move on to reports. DDA coordinator update, Tina.
Okay, let me share my screen. Everyone see the screen?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, so I'm going to recapping a little bit of what we covered last month, just to get an update. Go back, hit that too fast. So these are just some information at the bottom. I'm just sharing some of the sources of information that I have been working with to communicate out to our business owners on key pieces of info that they need in relation to the grants that are being offered, to the executive orders, which as of this Monday, we're at 150 that have been issued. Some have been rescinded, and that's also an important thing to keep folks updated on. Also, just looking at additional information regarding the PPE material. There's certainly still a need for that material as folks move through it. But I just wanted to let you know the different types of groups that I've been in communication with as we move forward. And then, of course, the really important communication tool that we've been utilizing is our Facebook group called the Line Business Group. This group, I created this Facebook page initially, and then we ended up inviting the Kensington Chamber and the City of South Line to be involved because we wanted to create a really strong regional input. And we also had a lot of folks just asking a lot of questions. So you can see where I've been sharing information from the Michigan Retailers Association, information about the loans and the grants. Folks have had opportunities to ask questions. A really, really important communication tool we've been utilizing or sharing is the Small Business Association of Michigan. Since day one, they have been doing daily videos talking about pretty much any topic any small business owner needs to be aware of. And they've had guests in and such. So it's just been very, very helpful. So one of the things that we had done was we had done that survey back in May, asking the businesses what their top priorities were. And you can see those three that are circled for the top three: reopening as soon as possible, getting customers and clients to return, and ensuring safety for their staff. So The other item that they were focused on was what type of assistance do you need? Financial assistance, collaboration with other businesses, and marketing and advertising. And so part of the marketing and advertising, and we talked about this last month, was our promotions committee came up with a promotion campaign that we would have these feather flags and yard signs on display. We're also getting these little support stickers being made by a local printer for us. They're doing that work. They're donating those stickers to us. And also some feather or some type of banner flags that are going to be used in downtown South Lyon. And so what you'll see here is we've already ordered these flags. They should arrive within the next week, and they've already started work on the yard signs. And these stickers should arrive as well by midweek. City did something a little different. You can see there's a little bit of difference in the color scheme. Even though the task force had agreed on the teal and the yellow, they went ahead and did the teal and this like light orange. So it's a little off skew than what we were looking to achieve, but I think it's still going to be cohesive to a degree. Also, we asked our businesses what their top concerns were. At that time, it was uncertainty of reopening, obviously health and safety, and reaching out to clients. Safety was a really big issue. So of course, Oakland County had come up with this reopening toolkit concept. They upped their kits from 10,000 to 15,000. Initially, we received our 84, and then we received an additional 50. So in total, we received 144 of these kits, and I've been very, very busy delivering these kits to everyone. What we ended up doing was the companies could register online, or if they were in a DDA, we had already registered for them. I worked to communicate that the kits were available. As I was delivering the kits, I received signatures, and they had them date when they were delivered. I also took a lot of photos of our business owners receiving the kit. And in addition, in Lyon Township style, we had folks sign a thank you card. And so you can see this off to the right. This is a news article that was in our July newsletter. And it shows you that we shared pictures of the folks getting the kits. These are the kits that were delivered here to Township Hall. And this is Mark Adams. He works in economic development. He was on the team that helped to create these kits. And so he was kind enough to take our thank you card and present it to Oakland County. So just wanted to give you an update on that. And here's just some other photos, what was going on. Now, at our last meeting, we talked about how the township can support our small businesses. And we talked about permitting outdoor seating. And the question had come up, was that run by the township board? And I can tell you that on July 6th, the township board unanimously approved a resolution allowing for township-wide temporary outdoor sales event and licensing, including outdoor seating, to help our businesses comply with the COVID social distancing. So here's just 3 pictures of that. We have the Draft Horse Brewery, the Teresita Mexican Grill, and this is the Kensington Grill outdoor seating area. So we'll continue to work with them on making sure that those outdoor spaces are safe and accessible, and also try to encourage folks to come in and use those locations. We talked about the Oakland County Small Business Stabilization Grant. I recapped for all of you what round 1 and round 2 look like. I am happy to say that round 3 has just been announced. So this is a new grant. It's called the Oakland Together Business Recovery Grant. They have received $32 million to fund this grant. It will be available for small businesses with 50 or fewer employees located in Oakland County. And you can see that they've really gotten pretty sophisticated now with how they're accepting their applications. It is a competitive grant. And so I am encouraging all of our businesses to apply early. And they can hopefully receive anywhere from $2,500 to $10,000 of money to infuse into their business to help with this crisis. The nice thing about this particular grant is that it actually has a pretty large window of application. The deadline isn't until August 24th. So folks have a little bit more time. The first round, they had like 6 days to respond. So we're hopeful that we'll see a higher response rate. So that information is available on our DDA Facebook page as well as that COVID recovery page. Also, just wanting to let you know that I continue to promote our job opportunities at this time. Obviously, there's a lot of folks hiring, so keeping people updated on that. Jonah's Bar and Grill is scheduled to open soon. They're going to do a soft opening, and then they'll have a big announcement, most likely the first week in August. But it's looking really, really sharp inside. I've met the sales manager there, and they're very excited to be in our downtown. Also, you saw on the consent agenda that we did have a line item for some streetscape maintenance. We received some complaints about how rough this area was looking. And so we took advantage of our contractor who works for the township right now and got a bid. And using line item 930.00, we did repairs and maintenance. We had them come through and just do some cleanup, remove weeds, put some mulch into the beds. And then down here, it looks really small, but these are actually, they're lavender plants. And as they grow to be about the height, just shy of the bench. And you can see a picture here. It's going to inject some color into the streetscape area. So I just wanted to make you aware of those improvements that were done just this past week. Also a reminder that for any businesses that are looking for PPE material, the state of Michigan is offering a website. It's a portal that allows you to look for companies that supply the PPE. And then if you're a company that makes PPE, you can actually list your company here as well. And that is my recap. Other than I just wanted to note, John Bell is turning 90 years old on Friday. And his family initially, yeah, very exciting. His family initially was going to host a party, but obviously with COVID, that's not going to work out. They were going to do an outdoor barbecue, but instead they're going to have a drive-by for his birthday. So on Sunday at 1 p.m., they're asking for folks who are interested to meet at the high school, and then we're going to do like a parade route to his house across the street, which is in Colonial Acres, and just do a nice drive-by. He'll sit on the front lawn and we can drive by. We're going to see if we can get the fire department to participate as well. So it's kind of a bummer. I mean, this is a big year for Mr. Bell, retiring, his second retirement from his volunteer work here with the township, and also the celebration of his 90th birthday would be a great causes to get together and really recognize him for all of his contributions to the township as well as the DDA. And it's really unfortunate that because of COVID, we're not able to do that. So we're going to try to find some ways to make him feel very valued and appreciated. And that would conclude my report. If anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Okay, Tina, thank you. Any questions for Tina?
No.
Okay. I would like to tell everyone how wonderful John Bell has been for the township, not just the DDA, but the township in general. Because of him, we have a kite festival, and everyone else can take the credit for that, and he will never take the credit for that. But John Bell is the reason we have a kite festival, and he's been an amazing guy in the township for a long time. He's going to be missed being around. Okay, moving on. Economic restructuring, Mark Zerlag. Mark, anything for us on that?
Yes, we had a economic restructuring committee meeting to discuss the tax abatement scorecard for NLB Corp. Tina, now appropriate time to go through that?
Not at this time because it's on the agenda.
Okay. Well, then I'll just let everybody know that we met, and we'll keep you in suspense for a few more minutes.
Sounds good. Okay, then we'll talk about that in the agenda item. All right, moving on, promotion. Troy, I see we have a agenda item for that also.
Well, and Tina pretty much took our steam, so there's not much to say other than the flags were ordered.
Wait a second. Did you meet though?
We did
Was
not. Did we meet before the flags got ordered? No,
I know the Driven Network group met, but you didn't have a meeting.
no, we didn't meet after that. No, we didn't have time. So no meeting since the last meeting.
Okay. The next two categories we are vacant. Anybody going to take over the organization part? Or we have to think about that.
Typically, the organization committee is led by our chairperson. So
Okay.
we'll talk about that a little bit later as well.
Okay. To the township board, and really, I haven't got a lot other than in just the projects. The softening is moving forward, and we are talking about adding a 2 million gallon ground storage tank for extra water in the summertime when we need it the most to store it. Other than that, we're just we're cooking along on all that. Anybody want to know anything about the water that I'm not talking about, or any questions about how it's moving?
Is your water tower done?
Water tower is pretty much done. Yeah. I mean, it's been working for quite a few months, the extra million gallons, but we're talking about adding another ground tower. Well, it's not a tower, ground tank with a pumping station that'll go right next to the Griswold tower. So it's going to really give us some added storage in the summertime when we literally went from 700, 800,000 gallons of water in the winter to every day in July, we've been pumping north of 5 million a day.
Wow.
So the storage we have kind of a dilemma because we need so much water in the summertime and so little in the wintertime. It's throwing us a haymaker because you can't let the water stagnate in the storage tanks. So you have to turn that over quite often, every day or so. So by using the ground storage tank, we can eliminate 2 million gallons in the winter and just run off of our upper storage, which is really a great idea. So we'll mothball the 2 million gallons in the wintertime and just use the overhead in the wintertime. And that should take care of our problem, which is really a neat idea.
You still in discussions with other townships for selling it to them?
We have a couple in the mix. We have a few other, actually both townships that are asking for water, and we're talking to them. The board is online with that. We have plenty of water to sell, so we'll see. We'll see. But there's two out there.
Okay.
Okay, we're moving on to McKenna. Chris, anything for us and any updates?
Yeah, absolutely. Can everyone hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. Well, I know that John has mentioned this in the past, but since the DDA met last, Leslie completed the site plan drawings for the township hall expansion, and that went to the planning commission and got the thumbs up at the end of June. And then at the first July meeting of the PC, the big thing in the DDA was the final plans for the plan development amendment for Line Crossing, specifically the plans for the multifamily units. And so that will go back one more time to the township board in August. And then one more thing that I wanted to add, but I don't think that I mentioned it last time, that we were in the process of it. We've started an amendment to the zoning ordinance to permit more solar panels in commercial areas. As the zoning ordinance stands, they're only allowed as rooftop units in residential areas. And we got some interest in doing it in commercial areas. So we are close to completing that and getting it through and presenting it for final approval to the township board. So those are the big things I have. And you guys are going to talk about NLB in a little bit, and their site plan is scheduled to go before the planning commission at their second meeting of July.
Great. Thanks, Chris.
Thank
Any
you.
questions for Chris? Okay, Leslie, we bypassed you. Did you have any updates on engineering?
No.
Okay, well, then we didn't bypass you. All right, I think that concludes the report. So we'll move on to unfinished business. And this is an update on the promotion campaign, and that's Troy.
Basically, we're just working on the, waiting for the signs to come in. And then I'm sure that Tina and I will be very busy putting some signs up.
Yeah,
Oh,
and
banner flags.
just so that we have it on the record, the invoice, this board approved the $10,000 reallocation, and the invoice came in at $9,130. So we're within our approved amount. And like I said earlier, hopefully we'll get these flags within the next week and we'll get those put up.
So we're $900 under budget.
So to ask a question now, are you guys planning on going out and personally installing these signs?
We have not done our program of work yet on how we're going to do that. But now that we're just having our first discussion on this, it's maybe there's an opportunity to utilize the trustees to help us with that. We definitely will be calling Miss Dig in some areas to make sure that we're clear of any obstacles.
How far do these go in the ground?
I think it's just an 18-inch stake.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I know we definitely have to plan where they're going and how far they're going to be spaced apart. We haven't really sat down to discuss that, but that's between the part of the logistics of, where they're going and how many are going where and how they're going to get installed.
And we did touch base with Brian Kesey, a planner, because there is a new sign ordinance and we wanted to make sure that the flags were within that ordinance for size and whatnot. And he confirmed that we were good to go. And I think we're going to space these about 40 or 50 feet apart. So they're going to be nicely spaced. They're about 16 feet tall. So it should be pretty dramatic.
Now, do you have like a something to do about maintenance? We put these in and the wind is going to probably knock quite a few down now and then, and you'll probably get the phone calls from the residents, and we'll have to go out and maintain these. Do we have enough people to do that? That's going to be the big deal.
Yeah, we've had these signs up before, and I think we've only lost one flag once, and it was one of our grand opening flags, and it got blown off of the pole itself. So doing this a number of years with Kite Fest, I think we've gotten pretty good at how to best attach them, making sure that they're secured. So I feel pretty confident that we shouldn't have any issues, but of course we'll address it as it happens. We have asked the businesses to keep an eye on the flags and let us know if there's any one of them that have come undone or need to be readjusted. And of course, we'll take into consideration, if we have some really severe weather, that is something that we can coordinate with our businesses. Between Troy and I, we have a pretty good communication level of communication with all these business owners to see if we can get those pulled off if we have any severe weather coming. So.
Okay. Well, that's just a question because
they're
you know that calls are going to be coming in when this go on. Okay. Well, that sounds good. It sounds like a great plan. So, all right. We good on that, Troy?
Yeah, I think we're fine. Yeah, we're good to go.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, let's move on to new business. This is the review of the NLB Corp. IFT tax abatement. Tina?
Yeah, I'm going to start off just giving you an excerpt from a letter that we received from NLB, and it's just going to give you a feel for the company, background on the company. So NLB Corporation is a global innovator recognized around the world as a leader in water jet productivity, building high pressure water jetting systems for cleaning applications. Our reputation is built on delivering high quality products with exceptional customer service. At our world headquarters, we design, engineer, manufacture through assembly, fabrication, paint, test, and warehouse, and ship our pumps worldwide. The new facility that's being proposed for Lyon Township will be the place that we will call home for a very long time. Founded in 1971 by Forrest Shook out of his Flint, Michigan garage, NLB Corp developed into one of the world's leading water jetting manufacturing companies. In 2007, Forrest Shook retired, selling the company to Interpump Group SPA out of Reggio Emilia, Italy. Interpump has allowed NLB Corporation to maintain its brand, management, IT system, and decision-making ability. With the support of Interpump since 2007, they have continued to grow in the Wixom, Michigan facility with 220 employees nationally, 170 of which are located in Michigan. They will be celebrating their 50th year anniversary as a company in 2021 and can think of no better way to celebrate that than with the opening of their next world headquarters, setting them up for the next 50 years. So with that, I'm going to actually turn this over to Mark. Mark, if you want to give a recap on how our group went about scoring, and we also included in the packet the actual scorecard.
Okay, thank you. A number of years ago, we developed a tax abatement scorecard that had a number of categories that I think were most interesting to us in trying to evaluate whether or not a company coming into the township would be deserving of a tax abatement, and how could we gauge or score one versus the other. So as you see as part of your package, the item there, Lyon Township Tax Abatement Scorecard, applicant NLB, and I'll just quickly take you down the items, right? The first one is investment ownership status. Does the applicant own the land and building, or will they be leasing? There's different points associated with each. This particular applicant will be owning, constructing and owning their facility, so that was 50 points. Then we have a new investment value. This is for land and building and infrastructure. And they fell between the $11 million, $20 million mark, which is 30 points. Then moving on to jobs, which is very important. We put a lot of value into companies coming in here, bringing a lot of new jobs to the township. They're estimated to be 170 jobs, so they're in the 100 plus E, and that's 40 points. A number of new full-time permanent jobs to be created in the next 1 to 3 years. They're estimating 32, which is equivalent to 20 points. And then we also weigh the type of jobs based upon salary. It's weighted in our scorecard. They've got 28 employees that will be within the $50,000 to $100,000 range for 84 points, and 4 employees at the 100,000 plus. None of their new jobs are anticipated to be less than 50,000 a year. Local negative impact on the community, traffic, roads, odors, etc. We spent a fair amount of time discussing this. It's hard to look at this and have somebody come in with 107 employees and say that there is no impact. We as a committee agreed that in this particular case, this would be a minor impact, which would be a subtraction of 25 points. Their investment in utilities is well in excess of 200,000, so they get 50 points there. And then we asked the applicant to identify, which categories apply in their use. And you can see from the scorecard, B, advanced materials and chemicals, aerospace, space, automotive, alternative energy, robotics, and defense and homeland security. So that looks like it's like 6 items, so 60 points. So their total score was 329. That fell within the range of a 6 to 8 year, 50% tax abatement recommendation. And we bring that to this board for review, comments, questions, and then ultimately a motion to the township board.
Okay. So anybody like to ask any questions about, that was very thorough, Mark. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions about how they arrived at the numbers? I mean, it's self-explanatory. What do you guys think about tax abatements, the 6 to 12 years? Anybody have any thoughts about that?
Six to eight, John, just a.
Oh, 6 to 8, 6 to 8.
Mhm.
Is there a chance that we would lose them if we didn't give it to them?
I can tell you that this particular company had reached out to the MEDC. The MEDC will get involved with projects if there's a chance that the company might want to relocate to another state. And so I'm unaware of any type of incentives that are being offered currently through the MEDC, but I do know that the company had been exploring potentially other locations. So from an attraction standpoint, keeping them in the state of Michigan is important. Keeping them in Oakland County is important. Moving from Wixom to Lyon Township, not a big jump, but certainly the type of company that they are with their stability and their continued growth. I think that that is a company we would want to attract to our community, as well as the number of jobs that they would create. But again, this committee or this organization's recommendation to the township board is just that, a recommendation. And it'll ultimately be up to the township board and the trustees to decide if they feel that this is worthy of a tax abatement. What we'd like to do is provide them with a scorecard to help them in their decision-making, and also provide them with all the supporting documentation. I can tell you too that Oakland County is in the process of creating a tax analysis for this application so that the township will understand the tax impact on this development and also on any type of abatement. When they do the tax analysis, they include years 1 through 12, just so that we can see what that impact would be over all 12 years. And so if the recommendation is 6 to 8, then the township board can look at that area and see what type of, what's the actual amount that would be impacted if they received a 50% reduction.
So Tina, just to get this straight, you're looking just for a recommendation either to allow the tax abatement or disallow it from this board?
No, actually, according to the tax policy, it says after completing the review and determining a score for the applicant, the committee will make a recommendation to the township board trustees. So the committee is making that recommendation right now to the DDA board, just so that you're aware of how they scored. And then we are required then to take that recommendation onto the township board. So because this business is located in the Downtown Development Authority and would impact, obviously, any TIF monies that would be collected for the development as it moves forward, if it receives any type of a tax abatement, that would affect then obviously the amount of taxes that would be collected for the TIF funding. So it is it is the committee's recommendation to present this information, and then it is this then DDA board's step to make a recommendation to the township board.
Well,
Now, as I understand,
go ahead. Go ahead.
as I understand it, our recommendation, this board's recommendation could simply be, we recommend to submit the scorecard to the township board for review. I don't think this body has the authority to make a recommendation on whether or not to grant an abatement, but we are looking to provide the board with as much information as to how they, how this particular request stacks up using this particular scorecard that we've used over the years for other companies.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm asking. So you're basically, you just want a recommendation to go to the board.
Correct.
Okay. And you don't, as a committee, did you guys come up with your thoughts on the 68 years? I mean, would you be, you don't even recommend that? You just give the score to the board and let them even talk that through? You have no, you don't want to know anything?
Again, if there's certain special circumstances that would be outside of the scope of this scorecard, it would be noted at this time. What we did is, by going through these items one by one, we've come up with a score of this 329, which fits within that 6 to 8 range. So
Okay.
if for my chair, I don't have a recommendation on whether that's 6 or 7 or 8, but just from a scorecard, that's kind of where that's where they fit.
Okay, I got it. So do you want, you don't need a recommendation. You guys are going to recommend it?
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
And does that follow suit with what we have done in the past with other abatement recommendations or presentations of the reports of the scorecard?
I think so.
Yes. Yeah, we've used this at least a half a dozen times over the last 3 or 4 years. Our committee may look to tweak this in some fashion, simply because going through this, there's a couple items, especially this local negative impact. There's probably more. It's probably a little more subjective than maybe it ought to be. But Troy, to answer your question, at this point, this form is consistent with what we've provided the board with other requests.
Okay, just as long as we maintain consistency, which I'm sure we have. It's just I haven't been involved in any of the abatements in ever, or I don't remember ever being. So. Okay.
Yeah. All right. So you don't need a motion or a recommendation or anything. Is that what you're saying?
Just the question is, so this will just automatically be submitted as part of the minutes, or how would this get to them?
Right. So how this works then is we're looking to get this on the August 6th Township Board meeting agenda. And it does require a public hearing. So I've started the process and notifying all of our authorities that are affected by this, as well as a public notice published in the newspaper. The other thing to just make a notation of is Executive Order 141 from the governor addresses tax abatements during this COVID crisis. And so there were some steps that we needed to follow. Typically, you just run an ad to announce that you're going to be holding a public hearing. But this particular order said that you have to now, run 3 successive ads. So we actually have to run an ad on 3 times in the newspaper with this notification, in addition to making sure it's on the front page of the township website, that it's being communicated via our web pages. We can also make an announcement on our Facebook page, but there's a number of requirements that need to be posted because of COVID. The other issue is we are not sure if the August 6th meeting for the Township Board will be an electronic meeting or an in-person meeting. So we had to do this announcement to present that it could happen either way. So there's a lot of extra steps involved in this particular process, but how this will work is this scorecard, the application, the tax analysis, all of the supporting documents, the cost for the construction of the facility, all of that information will be included in the packet that goes to the Township Board. And again, this is a recommendation. The scorecard is a guideline. The Township Board can decide if they want to issue a tax abatement or not, if they want to do 6, 7, or 8 years according to the guidelines, or they could do more or they could do less. It really is going to be up to them. They are the ones that have the ultimate decision. But this scorecard And this packet of information is really designed to provide them with a recommendation and some guidelines to operate within. I hope that answers that question.
Okay, so again, you don't need a motion for this. This is discussion. You're going to move it on.
Correct.
Okay. Any more questions? All right, then let's move on to capital improvement project update. Leslie, is that you?
Yes, thank you. The proposed draft of the capital improvement plan update is in your packet, and I'm going to try to share my screen so we can go through it. Okay, so all of the projects, just to give you the criteria, the capital improvement plan was actually adopted in September of 2017. And all of the projects that's shown on the current draft were also in that 2017 document. The township board felt that it was time to update the capital improvement plan. So we're going through the process of meeting with the various departments. McKenna and I are working with the individual departments and including the DDA. And so the projects, really, it's before you to discuss if you wanted to keep them on the capital improvement program list. If you wanted to add any projects, the criteria is anything over $25,000. There was one project on the original capital improvement plan that we removed, and that was the fence along MDOT's along I-96. MDOT has been very detailed in saying they will not permit that. We did try to have them consider it. So we did remove that off this draft, but it's really for your discussion tonight if you wanted to add anything or delete. We are proposing to take this to the Planning Commission on the 27th of July, the entire plan.
Okay.
Leslie,
Everyone have a chance? Go ahead.
were there some, we did do some adjustments to the total project costs, is that correct?
Yes, they've been updated. The only ones we haven't are the ones that you see in here. And even on the original, it was, those were kind of to be determined as far as the stormwater management north of Grand River and south of Grand River. And public parking lots, same thing, that's really kind of a future goal. Didn't have any sites identified or scope, so an estimate wasn't completed.
Any questions for Leslie or anything that questions on the CIP, or anyone think there's something that should be added? No? Looks like you're in good shape, Leslie.
All right. Well, we'll take it to the Planning Commission, and I appreciate your time and your review of this.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, we're going to move on to the dates for the DDA information meeting 2020.
So, yeah, as you know, one of the requirements for our DDAs with the new PA 57 is that you're required to hold 2 public meetings, 2 informational meetings. And last year we did both our meetings. They were both held at Township Hall, and we need to establish dates for this year. And it's a little tricky. And I've actually sent a communication out to the Michigan Downtown Association to get their feedback on this. And I think this is why you see so many executive orders coming into play, is because as the state of Michigan is making these decisions, they're having an effect down the line. There's like a domino effect. And this is a good example of that. Right now, we're not holding public meetings in the Township Hall. The informational meeting could be a small group of people, or it could be a large group of people. And so it's going to be a bit of a challenge in order to social distance, not knowing exactly how many folks are going to attend. So I had sent an email to the MDA asking if they could get clarification from the state of Michigan if we may be able to hold this type of meeting electronically like we are today. So as you know or may not know, we're able to hold these electronic meetings because of an executive order that is allowing it due to the Open Meetings Act. And so the informational meetings apply the same way. And so I don't know what dates to even recommend at this stage. I'm putting this on the agenda because we need to start thinking about it. And the other challenge is that any dates that we set in the future, this could continue to go on and we might have an issue and have to cancel those dates, or we can move forward with them. I know some DDAs actually held their meetings in like small theaters. And that's another example. You can't do that now because our theaters are still closed. So typically we've had this meeting on a Wednesday. I don't really think the day of the week really matters. It's more looking at this, that there's only X amount of months left in the year. And that was my inquiry to the MDA, which was if you set your meetings like November, December, back to back, and something happens and you're not able to have those meetings, then you, in essence, have failed to have your informational meetings in the year 2021. So there's some risk involved with this, and I'm trying to better understand that, getting feedback from the folks with the state as well as our association that we belong with. But I just wanted to get your input or your thoughts on this. Oftentimes I'm asked, how long do you think this is going to last? And I'm ready to start carrying a magic 8-ball with me and just shaking it and showing it to people because there really is no way to predict this.
I wonder what the leniency will be about even having them in 2020.
Right. And I haven't heard, in all of the webinars that we've been attending, I haven't heard this topic brought up yet. So that's why I initiated it with the Michigan Downtown Association to see, because what they could end up doing is saying, you know what, we feel this is important enough where they'll contact the state of Michigan and lobby for it to be waived or for some type of special accommodation to be made, such as being permitted to have an online meeting. I actually think we might even get more people attending it if it were online because we could reach out to more folks in our community versus asking people to come to a location.
Well, my thoughts are you're going to have to think about it, Tina.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you run the meetings, right? Going to have to kind of think through this a little bit and how serious is. I guess we have to reach out and ask how serious it is if we have it or if we don't. I mean, they need to figure that out. Things are changing by the day.
They are. Well, and that's why I'm not looking so much for, a decision made today. I just want to make this board aware that that is a requirement for PA 57. And I'm looking into seeing how we can make sure that we comply with that requirement. And if anything should change, I will let you know.
Okay. Any questions about that for Tina? All right, well, let's move on to the vision plan update. Chris, is that you?
Did you want me to start, Tina? Or
well, I just wanted to, I'll give some recap. And then if you want to jump in, Chris, if you recall back in November of 2019, we had McKenna put together a cost estimate of what it would take to update our vision plan. The vision plan was last updated in 2009. And at that time, the DDA chair and the board was wanting to hold off on this. But what we have learned is there have been some grant opportunities that we are missing out on because we don't have an updated development plan. And also, we need to update the plan. I think even in our plan, it says that we would update it every 5 to 6 years. And so we're behind on this. So with that, I'm going to hand that over to Chris. And Chris, let's get an update from McKenna on that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that Tina may have slipped this into your packet. I'm not sure if it made it.
Yeah, it's actually, it didn't go under the right area, but it's under the CIP. In a way, it does relate to the CIP because our plan drives those types of projects. But if you click under CIP, you'll see McKenna's presentation that their recommendation that they had back in November.
So so this was originally from November, and it kind of gives it a general overview of how we think the update should go. And if you're looking for a more concise step-by-step kind of how we see it going, the last page contains a table of kind of breaking down the project into specific steps. And basically, Brian and I saw this as an opportunity to not only update the vision plan generally, but get more input from members that belong to, in the DDA, and really go after a site-specific vision for important areas in the DDA, and how to best kind of further the development there, and what that would look like going forward, and then physical characteristics of those sites and how they might develop. So, but and having heard Tina talk about it, pursuing grant opportunities is a big part of it. And so I guess a little bit, if there's some feedback that the board has about perhaps changing some of the areas that we've listed to focus on, that you would like to see in perhaps a slightly altered proposal, I would be happy to do that.
Well, my thoughts are, is we probably do need a new proposal. I don't know if the pricing is staying the same. It's probably a lot cheaper now with COVID, so we probably get a good deal. What are you laughing about? So I think that we probably should have it reproposed, right? Will that take you much time? I mean, you probably are pretty close.
Yeah, we can change this and have it back to you guys so you can see it at your next month's. It really wouldn't be too much of a problem at all. I guess what I would hope is just a little bit of feedback about what kind of areas you guys would like us to focus on, so we can propose spending more time doing that instead of some of the things we've highlighted.
Yeah. Anybody like to chime in and maybe give them some ideas? Is everybody happy the way it looks?
Chris, I know you work with other communities as well, and for this vision plan, it really does touch base on all the pillars that are priorities for DDAs. It looks like you're taking what was done, and we're just going to go back and revisit that. I think what's going to be different than before, if you can let me know if I'm right here, is before that was created doing charrettes, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas this one is more going to be targeted towards the community, doing different types of surveys, inquiring the stakeholders on what it is that they would like to have prioritized, what type of projects they'd like to see. I mean, is that right? Is that accurate?
Yeah, absolutely. I think a charrette would be somewhat intense for an update to this plan. And, the important part of doing a plan update is finding new ways. And definitely in this time of COVID, we have had to get creative with the plans we have been working on about better ways to reach out to people to allow their input, so that when we do go in and update the goals and objectives in the plan, that they align with the communities, the DDAs, and the board's objectives. So, I think we tried to make sure that there was an appropriate amount of time and money going into getting feedback, but it wasn't, as intense and as expensive as a full charrette would be.
So I know that in the past 10 years, we've had a huge increase in the number of folks living in the community. So this would be a great opportunity to get their input on the plan. Again, the big challenge that we'll have moving forward is how to engage the community, whether we are having in-person type of meetings or, whatever that's going to look at. I think that's going to be a little hard for us at this stage to know how we're going to approach that. But when you look at your services, What page is that on? It's just under that graph. You're talking about kicking off a meeting with the DDA to propose that schedule and planning process and develop those preliminary concepts and strategies. Are you saying that you're looking, like, do we need to create maybe even a subcommittee for this? Or, you know, what's the best way that you see us starting, at least with number one, the kickoff, identifying those concepts and strategies and receiving direction on those projects and priorities? Because it seems like we already have the ones that we've identified. So we want to go back and revisit those and make sure that we're prioritizing those correctly. Also identifying the things that have been accomplished. You know, there were a number of items that have been completed since the last vision plan. So we would make a note of those. And then moving on to the engagement process. Is that for number one? Do you see a benefit in engaging our entire board, or maybe having a subcommittee to start that process?
I think a subcommittee would be helpful. Oftentimes, having a small group that's focused on just a project can help be beneficial in making sure that it goes along and is the goals that you guys are seeking are furthered, and it doesn't bog down the whole board in kind of the details about how it moves forward. I think that would be a subcommittee would be very beneficial in identifying kind of the more refined tasks that we would do, and what the best methods the best methods we'd have for reaching out to people to get public input.
So
well, let me ask you this. Some of the committees that you already have formed have people from outside the board, right? What about using one of them committees that are already formed, like the appearance and design committee, or a committee like that, or even any of these committees that we have people that are already in the public involved in them? I think that'd be a really good way to start.
I actually see each one of these committees maybe taking on this task, because there's a number of projects that are listed that are just focused on design and appearance. There are some projects that are focused on restructuring. Some are focused on promotion. So maybe it's delegating out those portions of the vision plan to each one of those committees that are affiliated with each one of those topics that need to be looked at.
See, that makes more sense to me. You already have them committees formed, and they already have outside, other than on the board, members. I think that makes a lot of sense.
So if McKenna comes back in August with the revised proposal, then we should be prepared to, if this board agrees, to move forward to start that process in September of this year.
Well, how long do you project something like that would take?
Yeah, so we have our kind of flow chart schedules it out at about a 6-month process.
Yeah.
But if it's plus or minus 1 or 2, I think that's something that we could do.
So I think it's kind of important, since it hasn't been done since 2009, to move it forward. So yeah, I think bring that back next committee meeting, and let's find out, or next DDA meeting, I mean.
Okay. We will.
Is everyone here on the board? Is everybody in favor of doing this vision plan? Because we don't want to waste time if we're
Can
not.
we get a copy of the one that was done in 2009?
It's on our website. So on our website under downtown development, DDA, if you look at the far left column, it has a listing for our plans, development plans. You click on that, and then it opens up to the plan itself.
Okay.
These are supposed to be updated. I mean, we have let this go for 10 years, and I think it's 5.
It's time, and I think Tina made a good point earlier. The last 10, 11 years, population in the township's grown dramatically. So yes, there could be some changes for sure.
And the key is look at the way the DDA has grown. I mean, you look at and look at how the ring road is going to grow. I mean,
Yeah.
there's some big stuff happening.
Yeah, in the last 5 years, we've added over 70 businesses.
See, that's amazing.
Right.
Mhm.
Right. And
Okay.
like you said, for the citizens too, getting everyone's input on that, I think would be very helpful.
So is everyone here tonight? Are we good with trying to move this thing forward to get our vision plan up to date?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Well, I think that's a good plan to get it going. So bring it to the next meeting. Let's see what we can get it to.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And if it's okay with everybody, I can be prepared to share kind of the online tools that we've used for engagement over the past few months. So you can kind of get an idea of what we would propose for that.
That'd be great.
All right.
Okay. Are we good with that one? We're going to move that one on. Okay.
Mhm.
Let's move on to the DDA board members. And I'm sure I know that we need a few.
Right. And that's what I wanted to talk about. So we definitely are down 2 board members. So we need to fill those positions. And I know that Troy and I have been trying to recruit some more folks. And we do have some people who have shown some interest. The next step that they would need to do, and if you know of any other people that you'd like to engage, we do have an application on the township website for volunteers interested in serving on boards. And so we've asked some folks to fill that out and submit it. The challenge that we're having right now is, a lot of the people that we're approaching are business owners, and they're all in a very, heavy duty mode of trying to keep their businesses going and surviving through COVID. So we would like to see if we can get a citizen on board as well. But this board works a little different than the township boards in that the other township boards are populated with citizens of Lyon Township, whereas a DDA board, you just need to be a stakeholder. So a stakeholder could be someone who lives in the community, someone who owns a business or operates a business, the employee of a business, or some type of connection to the development of our community. So it's pretty broad. So what I'm asking this board in particular to do, because this is an immediate need, and typically this is something an organization committee would focus on, but considering that Tamara and John Bell were both members of a 3-person organization committee, with them being gone, we need to step up and get some more members involved. The other item that we need to address is right now, Robert, because he's the secretary, he can serve as the chair until this board appoints a chair. So it would be the decision of this board to assign someone to the chair and the vice chair positions to fill both Tamara and John's vacancies. And that could be done now, or it can be done if we can get some more members to participate. But typically you want your chair or your vice chair to be folks who are familiar with the process, maybe have been on the board for a year or two, who would want to be in that role. So I'm asking our existing board members to put some thought into that so that if there is a position that you're interested in and would like to serve in that position, I need to know. And then we can bring it to this board to vote upon because it is this board that makes that decision. And just to recap too, sometimes people get really overwhelmed by a chair position. The definition of each one of our chair and our vice chair is on our township or Facebook, the township DDA website. And just to recap, our chairperson's responsibility is basically to run the meetings, do exactly what John Dolan did today, just walking folks through the agenda, keeping people on task, making sure that folks have an opportunity to speak and provide their input. And then the chair is also the person who this board gives permission in order to sign all of our legal and important documents and contracts and whatnot. So some people think it can be a very overwhelming position, but as it's described, it's pretty straightforward.
Okay. well, that being said, I mean, I think we have to think about that. I think everyone, if someone would like to be the chair of the DDA and has sat on it for a while, you can let us know. We are looking for that person. But other than that, I think by the next meeting, we're going to have to do something.
Right.
We're going to have to nominate someone and have them take that position. Right?
Correct.
Okay.
Well,
And
John, Tina, I would like to step up and offer that I have 2 other names for potential candidates.
oh boy.
Are you nominating someone? What are you doing?
No, I have 2 other names for potential board members.
Oh, yeah.
Well, speak up.
Well, Sam Falk, I think might be a good potential member.
Sam Falk.
We talked about potentially Paula Ruffin. I think Paula's very engaged.
Oh.
And perhaps Brandon Davis from Novellas. We've already talked to Brandon. I think Tina sent him a volunteer application.
Mhm.
And we mentioned Carissa. We talked about Carissa, but I don't know if she's going to have time frame.
And
Now,
just-
is Sam the Cottage Inn? Sam?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Is he interested?
I'll talk to him, but I think he would be a good potential member.
Okay. You know what? You know what I'd like to, if there's any way possible, I'd like to try to get a woman. That'd be nice to have Paula. I think Paula would.
We thought Paula and Carissa might be nice additions because they're so engaged, and we certainly
It would just be nice. I like a mix. It'd be
we
nice
need
to
a good
have opinions.
representation.
Yeah, I think that'd be wonderful. How would we go about having them? Do they know about it? Are they interested?
Brandon is. I think Carissa. Tina, have you talked to Carissa?
I haven't talked to Carissa yet, but when I asked about another project, she said she was pretty swamped.
All right.
Carissa just expanded. So she owns the franchise in New Hudson for Big B Coffee, and she just purchased the franchise in South Lyon. So, but that doesn't mean that we can't approach her and still ask.
And
I would love to ask.
Paula has expressed interest way back when, so I think she might
Okay.
still be interested.
Well,
Right,
is there
and
a way we
Paula's
could-
been in business for 20 years here in the township.
Yeah, 19, 20.
She's going to be celebrating her 20th anniversary. It's Dr. Paula Ruffin. She is a chiropractor who has had her practice over there by the post office.
So can we get them to go ahead and put the application together and then?
That would be the next.
Because
step.
I have to take these to the board too. I have to get everything, the appointments on the board. So.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. Well, that's great. Thank you, Troy. That was nice. That's good. All right. Anything else? We just got to keep these thoughts that, we do need a chair. So everybody keep that in your mind.
And a
other than
vice
that-
chair. And a vice chair.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think Robert wants to stay secretary, right?
I believe he
he
expressed
showed
that at a
interest
meeting.
in that. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. So with that, we're to the end of the meeting. Adjournment would be in order. Somebody want to make a motion
I'll
to
make a
adjourn?
motion to adjourn the meeting.
Support.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
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 Who supported?
Everybody.
Everybody? Okay, I can pick a name. Okay, got it.
All right, everybody. Thanks. Great meeting.
Aye.
Thank you.
Have a
Thank
good
you,
night.
everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, Rob, you got to wind her down or?
Yep.
Okay. Thanks, everybody.
Rob.
Good night.
Hi, John Boy.
Good night.